Great. You all set, Clark? Can you hear me? Great, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the March 20th Board of Education meeting. Just real quick for a little housekeeping. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the School District of the Chathams has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, place thereof posted at the Board Administrative Offices, sent to the clerks of the Chatham Borough and Chatham Township, the Library of the Chathams, the Chatham Courier, the Daily Record, the Star Ledger, and the TAP. Peter, would you mind taking attendance?
Ms. Ciccarelli, Ms. Clark, Mr. Del Sandro. Here. Ms. Kenny, Ms. Ross.
Here.
Mr. Ryan.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Dr. Zhang, Ms. Weber.
Here.
5 present and accounted for, a quorum.
Excellent. If you're able, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is over by Peter. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. I have no opening comments, so we're going to send it right over to you, Dr. LaSousa, for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. So on my agenda, there are 2 items. The first is just an update on snow days or days to make up due to inclement weather. So as I mentioned in the last meeting, we have made it this far in the year anyway with 4 days remaining. The weather is good the rest of this week, and it looks warm next week also. So there's a resolution toward the end of the agenda to amend this year's calendar so that the Friday before Memorial Day weekend is a day without school when the district is closed, and then also to end the school year 3 days early on Friday, June 9th. And that will be approved tonight if you vote that way. And then if for some reason we have an unusual event that takes place between now and the next board meeting, we'd have to amend the calendar again, but hopefully that won't happen.
Graduation will remain on the 14th.
Correct. High school graduation will remain the same date. And then the second agenda item for me is the presentation of the preliminary budget. So I would ask you to go down to the House, and then we'll lower the screen here. Was just working, and now it's not. All right, so thank you very much. This is the presentation of the preliminary budget, which we are required to adopt at this meeting because it will be submitted to the County Superintendent of Schools, and she will review it and hopefully approve it. And then the Board of Education has about a month or so to make any amendments to it, adjustments, and then at the April 24th board meeting, the Board of Education will have to approve the final budget. So I just want to thank the Finance Committee, chaired by Brad Smith, Lotta Kenny, Mike Ryan, Yinglu Zhang. They were all part of the committee, and some other board members lent an assist when one of them couldn't make it. But we've brainstormed a lot through this budget process, more than most others probably, because we've got some moving parts that we haven't typically experienced in most budget years, if any, since I've been superintendent anyway. So first off, I'll try to kind of explain the various variables that we've been grappling with. And these are some of the main points of note as we look at this budget that maybe haven't been present in prior budgets. So the first one is the top line, which has to do with excess surplus. We have a greater excess surplus right now than we've ever had before. I'm going to explain why that is in the next slide. And the Finance Committee is recommending applying that surplus, or at least the additional amount that we have to the budget to offset and plug a hole that we have because of other costs that are rising at a rate much greater than 2%. And I'll explain that too. Even with applying the excess surplus, this budget reflects about $500,000 in staff reductions. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. Should I go back to the beginning? Okay, the teachers are saying no, so since the teachers are going to get their way, Washington Avenue School. I'll start here after thanking the Finance Committee and mentioning that the final budget will be adopted on April 24th. So top line number here is that, or top line headline, whatever you want to call it, is that we have an excess surplus amount this year that is greater than we've had in any other year. There are reasons for that associated with the pandemic. I'll get to that in a slide or two. The Finance Committee is recommending applying a significant portion of the surplus to the operating budget in order to keep the tax levy at 2%. Even though a number of expenses, many of which we've spoken about at board meeting after board meeting, are rising at a level much greater than 2%. And then finally, we have, I mentioned just before, if you didn't hear me, that the budget includes reductions of about $500,000 in positions. Those are all associated with enrollment declines, pretty much. And then finally, we have a health insurance rate increase of 8.8%, which is only about half of what the state health benefits plan is increasing. As a result of that, we have taxing authority that the board can exercise now, or the board can exercise over the next 3 years. And the Finance Committee is recommending saving that taxing authority for the 3 years forward by using the excess surplus to fill the budget gap, as opposed to using additional taxing authority through the health insurance adjustment. So just a little more detail on the surplus. School districts in New Jersey, for those of you who remember Matt Gilfillan, he used to like to say, school districts have the worst business model. They have fixed revenue, but variable expenses. And school districts in New Jersey are only permitted to carry what maybe in other sectors would be known as cash, carrying cash, right? The district can only bring forward 2% of its operating budget as a rainy day fund in case there's an emergency or some type of contingency that needs to be addressed. So forever and a day, as long as anyone in this room has been attending these meetings, school districts are permitted to have 2% in excess surplus. During the pandemic, state of New Jersey enacted a number of emergency measures. One of them was to provide school districts with more flexibility and enable them to carry 4% of their operating budget in excess surplus. We've done that. The pandemic is now is over, at least for our intents and purposes tonight, and that law is sunsetting. So the excess surplus that we have had in reserve now needs to be utilized. And we can utilize it in various ways. We could pay for capital improvements, for example, but the Finance Committee right now is recommending that we take the excess that we have, apply it to the budget to fill the hole. Naturally, that's only a one-time measure. These are not recurring funds. So doing that means that we have to try to position ourselves through reductions in other areas to have a sustainable budget picture next year and the year after and the year after that. But that's why we are working on the reductions and why we will continue to do that moving forward. Some of the increases that are spanning beyond 2%, obviously anything related to inflation carries a rate right now greater than 2%. For us, transportation is one of those hot button items. We are not having in most years, probably the past 10 years, we've been able to renew transportation routes at the CPI, which was usually around 2%, if not a little bit less. This year, the CPI that the state has established for renewal rates is 5.86%. So the least expensive routes we're going to renew are coming in at 5.86%, and some others are coming at an even higher rate, particularly some of those for out-of-district placements. We continue to grapple with special education costs, and under the umbrella of special education falls all of our extraordinary mental health type needs, and we are right now finding that we're under budgeted in that area with regard to students who might need extraordinary services out of district that we can't supply here. So we're trying to catch up and then build a little bit of space to anticipate other needs that we're going to have next year. And as I said, we've got an increase in our health insurance rates of about 8.8%. And on top of that, due to Chapter 44, the district is bearing a bigger burden, a bigger portion of the health insurance premiums than it did before Chapter 44, which is a whole other topic, but I can discuss it if there are questions. Getting to health insurance, just to kind of paint the picture, we've been fortunate the last several years where we've had very modest increases in health insurance costs. This year, naturally, we are getting hit with a higher number, but because the state health benefits plan went up 15.1% on January 1st, the way the law works is that a school district, if it's facing health insurance increases, it is permitted to exceed the 2% tax levy cap in the amount that the state health benefits plan goes up, so long as the district is within that amount. So since the state health benefits plan increased by 15% and our rate increase was 8.8, we can recoup that 8.8% by through the taxing authority. The dollar increase of the 8.8% is about $1.1 million, and the Finance Committee is recommending pushing this increase or pushing this taxing authority forward so that it's something that the board could draw on over the next 3 years, as opposed to tapping it now. So, major expense categories, and again, as I said, the Finance Committee is recommending a 2% levy increase. These are our major expense categories year over year. You can see, I'll just mention salaries, of course, is our biggest component of the budget. This reflects an increase of 3%. That's about what salaries increased. That's about what our salary increase has been the past 2 years. All of our collective bargaining agreements are expiring this year, so we don't know what the final number is, but for the sake of this budget, we've budgeted 3% minus about $500,000 in staff reductions. Special education tuition costs are our biggest budget driver right now, and you can see that right here in this line. Transportation is budgeted at 7% total, and then health benefits, as I said, are going up 8.8% plus the additional amount that the board is having to absorb because of the Chapter 44 penalty that the board receives. Included in this budget is a withdrawal from capital reserve of about $2.4 million. Laser I can't find, but that's in the upper right-hand corner. Some of the items that are here included in the budget to address via construction are roof replacements, a Vigilon server. Vigilon is our surveillance system, the servers that run those, debt servicing, and so forth. Again, because this is drawn out of capital reserve, these funds that I'm talking about here, the budget impact is only several $100,000, even though the total amount of work will exceed $2.5 million. So the fact that the Finance Committee is recommending coming in at 2% means that there are some needs and concerns that this budget can address, even though the board, or at least the Finance Committee of the board, would like to address them. And so the Finance Committee is recommending to the board that we put forward 2 separate proposals in November to the voters for potential approval. The first would be an $850,000 increase in the tax levy to construct security vestibules at each of the main entrances of the schools. So right now, we don't have schools in the district with double sets of locking doors that you can manage visitors a little bit better with, that are a best-in-practice type of enhancement to a facility. Any school built in New Jersey now, today, must have those, must have security vestibules in place. But our schools, of course, are, have some age to them, and they don't have those. So this would represent an additional 1.23% increase in the tax levy if the voters were to approve the proposal. Second proposal is an amount of $900,000 to provide health benefits to our paraprofessional staff that work full-time. We've talked a lot about this, but we have a fairly itinerant paraprofessional staff overall, in part because we don't have a competitive compensation package. And so we can't fit this into the operating budget, the main operating budget, and so the board is, or the finance committee is proposing to the full board to offer up a proposal that would increase the tax levy an additional 1.3% in order to provide health insurance benefits to paraprofessional staff. I just stole this slide from 1 year ago, from 3 years ago, rather. So this is not part of this presentation. There's no referendum in this, but this is from March 2nd, 2020. Think back, it was our last board meeting basically before schools closed down. And at the time, for those of you who were here, the board was considering a referendum to address 10 different projects in the district. We've been picking away at a number of these projects, like the fire alarm panels. We replaced the track at Cougar Field last summer. Plenty of roof replacements, of course. We've been trying to do this work through capital reserve, but not all of it we've been able to fit into the budget. So we're still pursuing projects. We still plan to do more roofs and more additional work, in part through the ROD grant process. You remember we submitted more than a dozen ROD grants to the state a couple of months ago. But I'm just pointing this out because the security vestibules at all of our schools have been something that we've been trying to get done, and we're hopeful that if we put forward a second proposal or a separate proposal to the voters, that this might be a way to finally accomplish that. These are our revenue sources. You can see the 2% increase in the tax levy here at the top. You'll notice that we've got some additional state aid coming in the amount of about $475,000. And at the end of the day, the expenditures match the revenue. Tax impact. So because there's going to be a 2% levy increase that the board can authorize via the operating budget, and then there are two separate proposals that could potentially be approved in November, we have three columns here to kind of represent what each of those, or how each of those would hit the tax levy. So the standard 2%, to come up with a $70.6 million levy, would hit Chatham Borough and Chatham Township in the way illustrated on the screen per 100,000. Important to note that these, just like we do every year, these figures are based on the Morris County Tax Assessor and the publication that the state puts out for through the Division of Taxation and Finance. So at some point, we've been told by the County Tax Assessor's Office they will update their numbers to reflect some of the new valuation that took place in Chatham Borough, and then at that point, we'd be able to update any of these figures if necessary. The second and third columns there, to the far right, they show what the tax impact would be for each proposal. So separate proposal number one, as I have it listed here, would be the security vestibules. You can see that would increase the tax levy by another 1.23%. It would result in $22.27 for the borough, $16.08 for the township per 100,000. And then in that final column, you can see the proposal for the health benefits for paraprofessional staff would have somewhat of a similar impact overall, if approved. For pupil budgetary costs, we often have a slide showing this. You'll see that we're moving up the chart a little bit, and the main reason for that is because our enrollment has been declining, so we have fewer students to divide the total budget by. But we still compare favorably overall to most of our neighbors. These are just the Morris County school tax rates according to the DCA and the abstract of ratables. I just put them up there as a comparison slide. And then, as I mentioned at the outset, once the board approves a preliminary budget, goes to the county, county reviews it, county approves it, hopefully, and then by April 24th, the board must adopt the final budget, and it has up until that point to make any changes or adjustments. And that's it for the preliminary budget. So the board members can go back on stage. Of course, Peter and I are happy to answer any questions as best we can. Mr. Smith might want to say a few words as well.
Thanks, Dr. LaSousa, for that. I just checked with Bradley. If you don't mind, we're going to hold off on questions on the budget for 1 minute. And if you don't mind, can we jump to your other items so that we can have the auditors do their presentation and then they can get home to their families, and then we can circle back and ask questions about the budget?
Sure. Mr. D'Aquila might want to introduce the auditors, but every year we go through an auditing process as required in the state, and the timeline upon which they complete their audit really depends in large part on when the state releases certain financial data that enables them to complete the audit. But they just completed the audit, I don't know, a month ago or so, and they're here tonight. So, Mr. D'Aquila, you want to?
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Sorry, I forgot it was under yours. I just want to let these gentlemen get home to their families.
Not a problem. I'm sure they will appreciate that very much, and hopefully they'll look favorable when they come back next year to do their job. I do want to introduce, we have the pleasure of being audited by PKF O'Connor Davies. And tonight, the audit manager, John Farina, is going to give the summary, and he is under the watchful eye of the audit partner, Scott Cleland. So I am, hopefully John will, say what he's supposed to, and Scott can remain seated.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us tonight. The audit was actually finalized on Friday within the extended deadline due to the state being late again with their information. The original deadline is December 5th, which was extended to February 5th, which is extended to March 17th, and then further extended for some districts to March 31st. But your audit is in as of March 17th, and always like to start with these presentations by thanking Peter, Patricia, and the entire business office staff, really, and as well as other departments. This year we tested a few grants that required us to work with Special Services Department, Transportation Department, so it's really not just us talking to Peter the entire time, and I know he likes to have us acknowledge everybody that's involved. So it's really a team effort on your part, on the district's part. We started the process back in early October, and we just finished last week. So that gives you an idea of the volume of information we require and get good cooperation from. The most important part of the audit report is the opinion, and happy to say that it's an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion that the district can get. So congratulations to everybody on that. Really, just to piggyback off of what Dr. LaSousa said in his presentation, is the district is in good financial position. You're right about at your limits for the surplus, and you've done a good job building and utilizing reserves to fund projects, and that's pretty much it. So I'll open it to any questions if you guys have any.
No, John, I don't think we have any questions. I just looked at Bradley, our finance chair. No questions. Any watch items? Got anything that we need to look out on the horizon that you're seeing 5, 10 years down the road?
I mean, I think just keep a watchful eye. We've been lucky enough to have a lot of federal funding over the last few years related to COVID, but that's something that, is not going to be there moving forward. So I know that you'll have to keep an eye on your revenue streams with that.
Great, thank you. Thank you, John. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Any other questions from any board members? Peter, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Thank you, John. Thank you,
Okay.
Scott. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming out.
Have a good night, everyone.
You could sneak out. Nobody will hold it against you. Okay, great. Thanks, Peter. Sorry about that. Mike, we just want to circle back now to the budget. You know what, Bradley, this is the first time I'm seeing it, so I do have a couple questions. The excess amount, if we didn't use the excess surplus in order to achieve the same goal, because we have to fill the gap. Everybody keeps talking about the gap, and again, just be patient with me. This is the first time I'm seeing it. The gap is the 2% revenue and the 10% expenses that we're trying to fill that hole.
That's correct.
If we didn't use the surplus, is the recommendation to just use more tax levy?
That's right. That's
Okay.
the only way to balance the budget would have been to a significantly larger tax increase. Sorry. The only way to balance the budget would have been a significantly larger tax increase, tax levy.
Okay, and I mean, the health insurance benefits went up, the transportation went up, special ed and mental health, we're under budgeting. Dr. LaSousa, can you give me the Reader's Digest version of, you called it a Chapter 44 penalty. I don't know if there is a Reader's Digest version one. If you can attempt it, though, can you explain what that means? Why is the school district picking up more, and who's picking up less than if we're picking up more?
The staff is picking up less, the district is picking up more. So
Okay.
2 years ago, when Chapter 44 went into effect, the board was paying 76% of health insurance costs, staff was paying 24%, according to state calculations.
Okay.
This year, moving into this budget year, if I'm not mistaken, it's 81% and 19. So 5% swing.
Okay. Does that equate to 5% more in teachers' paychecks because there's less deducted?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was.
That's not uniform. So the way that Chapter 44 works is that it required any new hire to automatically be entered into the Chapter 44 plan. It's called the New Jersey Educator Health Plan, or its equivalent. For existing staff, from before the law was enacted, they have the option of going in. So
Okay.
teachers who go in then don't pay, the old term was the Chapter 78 rate of premium. So the Chapter 44, it unlinks contribution from premium, and instead it links contribution to salary.
Okay.
So your contribution for health benefits depends not on how much the plan actually costs, but on how much your salary is.
Okay. So it's tiered.
But the net effect total is that if the bill is $10 million, let's just say, the Board of Education is now paying a larger percentage of that bill than it had been 2 years ago.
Right, 8.1 million. Right. Okay. And then could you explain the difference in the state health plan versus our health insurance? You said the difference between that we are allowed to use as bank cap, or did I completely misunderstand that?
Not quite. So
Okay.
we're privately insured. We're in a cooperative called the SHIF. If our health insurance rates were to increase by 10%, just as an example, and the state health benefits plan was to not increase, was just flat, you are not permitted to capture that 10% increase via the tax levy. You'd have to cut something out of the budget in order to be able to afford that 10% increase. However, if our health insurance is going up 10% and the state health benefits plan also goes up 10% or more than 10%, then as a board, you are permitted to capture that increase via the tax levy. So our health insurance is going up 8.8%. You are permitted, and that equates about $1.095 million. You are permitted to tax $1.095 million more in order to absorb the health benefits increase.
And how long do we have access to that taxing authority?
3 years. If you don't use it, then you have it for 3 years.
Okay.
And that's what's called banked cap.
Yep. Okay.
So we were faced with a situation where we had this one-off COVID money coming off that could plug that gap, but still have access to that bank cap in the coming years to backfill it.
Right. So, I mean, effectively, we're plugging it this year with the excess, but next year we're going to have to use some of the bank cap.
That's correct.
Or go out to the taxpayers
Right.
to fill the gap.
Correct.
Okay.
Or find
Or
another-
find another source of revenue.
or decrease expenses.
Right.
Right. Cut program.
Right.
Right.
Cut
Those are the-
programming, cut,
Right. Increase revenue or cut expenses.
that's correct.
That's it. Those are our choices.
So we had this one-off situation where this year we could plug the gap. We had talked at length about the level of budget concerns. However, we had this one-off COVID money coming off this year that we could use this year to keep taxes low. We're very sensitive about the fact that not only are we experiencing inflationary pressures, the entire town is. So instead of going out and increasing the tax levy right off the bat to pay for everything, we had this one-off situation where we could apply this COVID money coming off into this year's budget,
Right.
transfer the bank cap on the insurance by 1 year to be used for the next 3 years if needed.
Okay.
Can that COVID money be carried forward, or you have to use it all this year?
It has to be used this year, but it could,
Sorry. Can you turn this on? Better?
Susan's question was, do you have to use the excess COVID money this year, or can that also be carried forward in future years?
It cannot be carried forward.
it cannot be
as
carried
bank cap.
forward, but it can be used for other needs. So we used it to plug the operating budget. It could have gone towards the security vestibules or something else, but we decided that a second question for those things would be more prudent. And in terms of the other second question on the paraprofessionals, we've had paraprofessionals come here and ask for benefits, tell us at length, and we're very sensitive how hard they are working. And, you know, unfortunately, there just wasn't money in the budget to increase by $900,000 for those benefits at this time. So that's another opportunity for a second question to see, to put it in the taxpayer's hand.
And Bradley, on that topic, on the second question for the health benefits for paraprofessionals, if 10% choose not to get benefits, will there be a stipend or excess money, or no, that will just be absorbed? Had you even talked about that yet or not yet?
We've talked about it being a number, 900,000.
Right.
How that would translate into benefits, we're still discussing.
Okay, fair enough.
That was an estimate based on the number of paraprofessionals that we would project as full-timers and the cost of a single plan of health insurance.
Okay. Oh, and that's the proposal, a single plan, not open-ended, a family plan
Correct.
or multiple.
Yep.
It's for a single person. Interesting. And back to the rainy day fund. I'm sorry, my questions are all over my page here. So on the rainy day fund, or the 2% surplus that school districts are allowed, which no business would ever run that way, to only have 2% in the bank. But is there any movement on that, or that's going back to 2% and that's that?
That's that.
Which is what gets schools in trouble, which is why schools have to go out. You know, Madison's going out for a fairly large referendum because you can't absorb that budget. You can't save it for, you know, if your rainy day fund is only 2% of your budget, it pours. And the security vestibule estimate of $850, is that based on the 2020 estimates that you received? Sorry, Peter.
No, those those estimates were just provided by the architect. Because they had costed them out with the submission of those projects to their state's ROD grants.
And that's for six buildings?
That's for all 6 buildings.
Okay. And would it be the plan then, everybody, the students funnel in through a particular door, or is it mostly for visitors?
That is mostly for once everyone has occupied the buildings, because certain buildings have more than one entry open to
Right in the morning.
accommodate the students, especially the high school and the middle school.
Okay.
That would be for during school. Anybody coming in would have to, go through the main entrance just as they do now.
Okay, very good.
Lafayette not have a double entrance already?
No.
No?
None of the schools have secure, some schools have double doors, the high school does as well. Lafayette doesn't. Lafayette's just one single set of doors, but you have to have 2 sets of locking doors that can be mechanically opened.
And do many schools have those already, or are they just starting to get them as there's more?
I don't know that I would say most do, but many have them.
Okay. Since we've had more mass shootings than number of days in the year. Okay, I don't think I have any questions. You'll post that online, right, the presentation?
Yes.
Because we're not voting on this until April, so we can circle back with additional questions, because we're also missing 4 board members, so I want to.
Yes, you're voting on the preliminary budget so that we can submit it for approval to the county, but you don't vote on you don't have the final budget hearing until April 24th.
Okay. So Bradley, maybe if you don't mind sending it, well, some of them are already on finance, but those that aren't, do you mind sending it to them so they have a chance to look at
Absolutely.
it before the next meeting? Or they'll probably have questions for you that you can just deal with through an
Yep,
email.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure they have an opportunity to look at it because they didn't have the benefit. Well, they could watch the video. Did anybody else have any questions? Well, you're on finance.
I was at the last finance meeting, so I was able to take it all in.
But you were all there.
Yeah.
Except for Riley. Were Riley and I the only 2 not at that meeting? Okay. All right. I
Lot
don't
of
have
finance
any other
meetings.
questions on that for now. I may come back if something pops
Sounds
into my
good.
head. Because it's the first time I'm seeing it. So, okay, fantastic. Dr. Sousa, did you have any additional items you wanted to cover?
None from me.
Okay, Peter. I know we jumped around a little bit, but over to you.
The only other item of the report is we're, still in the planning process for the construction projects that we're definitely doing this summer, which would be the HVAC at the high school and the roofs at the high school, Lafayette and Southern.
Okay,
We're in process.
perfect. Any questions for Peter on any of those projects? No? Okay. Over to Ms. Druhot. Riley, take us away. Oh, absolutely, sorry.
To start with athletics again, spring sports, not much to report on. Winter sports are done. Spring sports started March 16th. I think we got a couple teams looking to defend state titles in there. Performing arts, Beauty and the Beast, the spring musical is coming. They have that senior citizenship show on Wednesday, March 22nd at 4 o'clock, where there's some sort of dinner afterwards. And then on the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th, there's a 7:30 show with an additional 1 o'clock show on the 24th. You can go to the Chatham High School website and purchase tickets. It's not through hometown ticketing, but if you go on the high school performing arts page through the SDOC website, you'll find it. The high school has their honors music recital April 19th. I believe that's a Wednesday. Yeah. The rest of the spring concert season is after the next meeting. The 3rd grade concerts, so all like Milton, Southern, and Washington, and the high school band concert take place the week of April 24th, so the week of our next meeting. Academics, this one always gets me. I know we have to do it, but the 10th graders are taking the PSAT tomorrow. It's brutal. NJGPA will continue on Wednesday, March 22nd. Clubs and extracurriculars, the fashion show was a huge success. Thank you to the PTO and all the donors. Junior prom is going to be April 20th, and those tickets are also on sale through hometown ticketing through the school district website. And the senior faculty volleyball game is March 30th. School improvements. I don't know if anybody has heard about this. I don't know if they've been advertising it outside. I've seen it all over my school, but they're doing a clothing drive, the green team at the high school. I think they're calling it like Cougar Couture, I think. And they're just selling like business casual clothes, all like to students and teachers. It was running this weekend, runs before school, after school, during lunch. So, yeah, that's through donors as well. That's all I got.
Do you have any questions for Riley on any of those particular topics? The honors concert is fantastic if you're available April 19th. And I just want to remind senior citizens that might be listening, senior citizens are always free to performances, so please don't let cost or ticketing be a deterrent. And if you can't get on the website for some reason, maybe call the high school and they'll help you navigate to get tickets. But we don't charge for senior citizens for any of our events where we control the gate. If somebody rents our facility, then it's out of our hands. However, if you're available, April 19th, the honors concert is amazing. I know the seniors are having the play. They go to the play on Wednesday or Thursday, Mike?
Thursday.
Thursday. It's either Wednesday or Thursday. And what's that? Oh, no, the Beauty and the Beast play, our play.
The seniors are going on
Wednesday. Wrong again. So I just want to remind the senior citizens that all events are free, so please don't let cost be a deterrent or the website be a deterrent. Just phone the high school or the middle school, wherever the performance is. Thank you, Riley. I appreciate it. We are going to scooch over to the committee reports. I'm going to just give personnel in Ann's absence. We did not meet, but we will meet April 5th. Susan, for curriculum?
So it's not on.
Can you guys hear Susan's microphone? Nope.
Try now.
Try Mike Ryan's.
Can you hear me? There we go. Okay. The curriculum committee met virtually on March 8th. We got an update from Dr. Donahue on the health and PE curriculum timeline regarding notification to parents. Emails will be going out to Lafayette parents on April 17th and followed by grade 2, which will go out to parents on May 1st. In the K-3 schools, there's a few new items, ongoing discussions with the principals regarding holiday celebrations. Surveys are going to be conducted to review which holidays are being acknowledged to ensure that there is consistency across all K-3 buildings. The goal here is to have a clear rationale for why the holidays are being celebrated and also to be mindful of including holidays that represent our entire student body. Examples would be like the Lunar New Year and Diwali. So we'll have an update on that as discussions continue. K-3 principals are also talking about a screening process for the expectations for grade 1 students, particularly those students who did not attend kindergarten in the district. And prior to COVID, there used to be, my kids did this, there was a screening for incoming kindergartners, which we will be considered returning to that, so that having data from both of those will help create a more balanced class list in each of the schools. Supervisors are also working on streamlining the observation process for teacher evaluations. This is ongoing and in the planning phases, and the next meeting for that is scheduled for March 29th. And then lastly, there is an update on the senior internship program. For those of you that don't know about this, this is a popular program where seniors can opt to do a 19-day internship at the tail end of their senior year. The concern here is a staffing issue to find an advisor to work with this program. It's an arduous job because there has to be 2 site visits to the facilities where the kids are doing their internships, so that is an ongoing matter. And the next meeting will be held April 5th. Happy to take any questions.
I don't have any questions. Clark, is there any way for you to check the YouTube feed? Somebody emailed me and said that they're not able to get on the YouTube feed. I don't know if it's continuing to happen, but I just want to double check that they can. If you could just verify that it's up and running, that'd be swell. It's good. Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, I just wanted to double check. Great, thank you. Well, if they're emailing me, I should
I have
find out.
62 viewers, though. That might be a record.
That's right, that's true. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate the detailed report. Mr. Smith, Finance and
Yes, Finance has met the last 2 weeks working through the budget. which Dr. LaSousa presented on earlier. We also have been discussing the food service in the K to 8 schools, and currently we're involved in a state reimbursement program that oversees exact portions and ways we're allowed to present food into the cafeteria. And we're looking at the possibility of being able to offer better quality food, which the parents have been requesting, and having much more flexibility by possibly opting out of that state reimbursement program and how that would look. And that's all I have.
And the big budget.
And finance is meeting again first week in April, I believe. That's all I have.
First week in April. Do you anticipate any tweaks or nothing significant?
I don't anticipate any major tweaks at this point.
You don't anticipate a pile of money coming your way?
Well, that would be nice.
Okay, but nothing, okay.
Nothing.
So nothing's going to majorly change from the current presentation?
The board will approve, right, the preliminary budget, and then we have the right to change
to change it,
for the
okay.
next month if we want to, but I don't anticipate anything from my side unless some of the other board members have some thoughts.
Okay, perfect, great, thank you.
19th, sorry,
19th?
third week. Yeah.
Okay. Then you can go over to the honors concert.
Perfect.
Very good. Mr. Ryan, over to you for policy and planning.
Yes. Policy met on March 15th. We did receive, as I mentioned in prior meetings, we did receive the catalog of policies from NJ School Boards Association. And we were going to have a presentation delivered to us on the 15th, but that didn't happen. But we were able to pretty easily determine that the new policies are mapped to various old policies from Strauss-Esme, and the few that we looked at did include some of the changes that we had been making along the way. We just have to go through a more thorough process to analyze some of the hot button kind of policies that we always use, you know, the HIB policy and others
Okay.
that make sure that those are accurate. And we should be able to, I anticipate that we might be able to adopt all of the policies at once.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot, originally when we first looked at it, it looked like it was more daunting than it really is.
Okay.
So we think we got a good handle on it, and we're going to be thorough, but
And how do you
may.
verify, are you just doing a spot check, or do you verify that, I know that a handful have Chatham-specific language. Do you just go to those specific ones and you'll
Yes.
compare?
that's what we did. Yeah.
Okay, because a lot of them are boilerplate, but some are,
A lot of them are boilerplate, but we had been making changes to some of these policies along the way, you know, throughout the years. So we wanted to make sure that the new policy catalogs had our changes in them.
okay.
Instead of just giving us, hey, here's the policy. We wanted to make sure that our changes were in them. And we also want to make sure that all the policies that they're giving us, that we actually use them, and we do what it says we're supposed to do. Some
And-
policies don't apply to us because
Right.
we have a committee structure
Sure.
versus something else that may.
So
be
we'll just not
getting-
adopt those? Is that the plan?
Yes,
Okay. So you may have a list of 50 or 60 that we just don't take on at all?
that's right.
Okay.
Easier to read than the prior policies.
Yes.
They've summate like a 4-page policy into one little paragraph.
Okay.
Because one policy is tied to maybe 4 or 5 of
Right.
our other policies.
Right.
So it simplifies 4 or 5 of those other policies, and you can probably get rid of a couple of them because
Yeah.
this one policy takes care of those other policies.
Okay, great. And did they give you a list of policies to jettison in that because they simplified it, or no, you have to?
We have to do that.
Okay. So that'll be more manual.
That'll be the daunting task, is to go through all of them and figure out, you know, it's going to be a little while to figure it all out.
Okay.
It's work.
Okay. Are you expecting a reschedule of your presentation from the policy person? Not you, the policy, the NJ, no, don't need it?
I don't think we need it at this point,
Okay.
unless Dr. LaSousa wants to have it.
I had agreed to connect with her at some point this week to try to figure that out.
Okay.
And she could even join us virtually, probably,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it up to Mike Ryan and the committee, how they want to proceed. Excellent, great. Sounds like good progress. So you'll let us know when you recommend and you think they'll come over wholesale
Yeah, by the start of the next school year.
next
for
school
sure.
year. Okay, okay, great. Any other items, Mike?
No,
No, that's it. Any other questions for Mr. Ryan? No? Do we have any liaison reports? Susan? Nope.
Thanks. I have a committee report from CEF. They just completed their second grant cycle of the year, approving grants totaling $27,000, and these supported several items. The district art show in May. They were able to purchase new display panels. In sixth grade ELA classes, there was funds of about $3,375 to purchase text and provide flexible seating arrangements. And then finally, it allowed Lafayette to purchase additional interactive robots that had been piloted previously in fifth grade classes so that the entire class could work together and explore coding principles. The last cycle of the school year will close at the end of April, so hopefully we'll have an update at one of our meetings before the summer. Thanks.
Great, excellent. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
The only other item is the Chatham Borough. We're still looking to schedule a meeting with the Borough Council. We don't have anything on the calendar yet, but hopefully in the next week or two. Bradley, if it occurs when one of the board members is not available as the Master of Coin, would you mind sitting in on that? Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I'm sorry?
Recreation report.
Oh, sorry. Very good. Thank you, Chris.
The track program's open for 9 to 15-year-old boys and girls. They start running in March. It's a great program for kids. It's just a track program. They practice twice a week. They're out there running. It's all good and healthy for your kids. So if your kid's not doing anything, get them out there to run. Softball is registration, I believe, has closed already, but they will take latecomers. So that's what their website says. So if you want your child to play some softball, get her out there and sign up on the website. Baseball is, actually their registration closes today. They're having a fundraiser on March 31st for, at the Summit Elks. It's $125 a person, and that money goes towards field improvements and a 12U team that makes a trip to Cooperstown every year. And lastly, there's also, it's the last day of registration for Buddy Ball as well, which is for physically and mentally challenged children. And 5 to 19 years old, it's the 8th season they've been doing Buddy Ball, and a lot of high school kids help with the coaching and Buddy Ball, and it's all
Fun.
Kids love it. Everyone loves it. The kids love it, and the older kids love it. So
Fun.
It's all good.
That's all
So,
good stuff.
That's what we got. It is a good program. Very good. Yep. Oh, last thing, pickleball. They keep on trying to find pickleball. They're trying to find pickleball courts for all the pickleball people. People want to play pickleball. They're just trying to figure out a way to
How to get there.
how to get there.
Okay.
It's like finding space in the school, just trying to find space around town to put pickleball courts up. So
Right. Fun. Fastest growing sport.
go get some pickleball in you.
Excellent. Great. Any questions for Chris on that? When was the Summit Elks fundraiser?
That is on March 31st. I think it's a Saturday night.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So now I'm going to move over to the minutes. It's only the March 6th minutes. There's a typo in there. So I would like to make a motion to move the March 6th minutes for the public and the executive session. And everybody here is able to vote. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? There you go, Peter.
Duly noted, March 6 minutes past 5-0.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. So we have our first opportunity for public commentary. Hearing of the citizens during the public commentary section of the agenda is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are or are not topics scheduled for the current meeting. To help facilitate an order in the meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers will be asked to limit their comments to a reasonable length of time. And again, this is your opportunity, so the floor is yours. If you could just introduce yourself and sign in, and if we can, we'll try and answer any questions at the end after we close public commentary. Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Deirdre Rajapi. I live in Chatham Township. You can't hear me? Sure. Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is Deirdre Rajapi. I live in Chatham Township. And we can all agree that the rising anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues in teens is disturbing and alarming. According to Mr. Bradley Smith, the district has spent $1 million on mental health resources as of last school year. He also stated that this is unsustainable. As a result, the school district has filed a federal lawsuit against the social media companies due to damages to student health. Due to the teen mental health crisis, do you think it is reasonable to suggest that the district revisit the comprehensive health and sex curriculum? There are many concerning and controversial issues within the new curriculum. These issues may be contributing negatively to the mental health of the students. Recently, a surrounding district voted to rethink the curriculum. They are going to investigate alternative methods to present the material. Would the BOE give the same consideration? Thank you.
Libby Hilsenrath, Chatham Borough. I have a question on the agenda. It's number 4 under section, oh, I don't even know what section it is, but it says approval, submission and acceptance of funds for school climate change pilot grant application. School climate education, $6,660. I'd like to ask where this is coming from. I believe it's from the state because I believe our governor put aside $4 to $5 million for extra climate change education. But I would like to know why we're applying for that grant, because we already do teach by the New Jersey Student Learning Standards about climate change across all curricular areas. So what are we getting? Why are we applying? What are we getting for that $6,000 approximately? And in conjunction with that, I'd like to read part of an essay that was written by a Chatham High School senior concerning climate change. So I'll just read certain sections of it. It's available online. Anyone can look it up. I remember hearing at a young age about climate change, more specifically the idea that Gen Z is the last line of defense before carbon emissions cause irreversible damage to planet Earth, and felt the pressure of solving a global crisis created by a system much older than us. Because of this, many teens just continued to buy from, and she mentions a manufacturing company, with the defense that there's no way to consume ethically in our current economic system, and that our actions are too small to make a difference. When environmental harm feels inevitable, why even bother? She goes on to say, in addition, many struggle to feel like they are making an impact. It often feels, regardless of their best efforts, no individual's amount of carpooling, taking shorter showers, using less electricity, or purchasing less clothing can cancel out a single celebrity's trip on a private jet. There seems to be a culture of elitism around sustainability, and this is causing hopelessness and elitism. So by reading that and knowing that we already teach climate change in the schools, it's mandated. And again, the mandates, they say you have to teach it, but each school district can decide to what degree they want to teach it. Reading this made me think that this is a major part of the mental health issues that our kids are facing. Teaching this climate change curriculum makes this student think that there is no reason to live because she can't make a difference. So I just wanted to point that out, and I don't know why we're going for an extra grant for climate change education. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Volker, and I'm a first grade teacher at Washington Avenue School. I'm also a building rep and a member of the social committee of the Chatham Education Association. And I just want to recognize two of my fellow teachers at Washington Avenue, Eileen Teresi and Jacqueline Flanagan, for hosting a movie outing at the Chatham Movie Theater this past weekend. They wrote a grant through the NJEA Pride Committee. The movie was called Bigfoot, and over 60 children attended. The admission was free for chaperones and children. Each got a snack of popcorn, a fruit snack, and a drink. And the feedback from all the parents at Washington was wonderful. Over the next week, our staff will be hosting a food drive to benefit the Chatham Methodist Church, as right now many of their shelves are very bare. So we're inviting the families of Washington Avenue to consider donating to this great cause. Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Heap, Chatham Borough. Okay. First, it was not quite dark when I came in this evening. Spring is here. Always happy to report. The parking lot was packed, too, so I thought this meeting would be packed. Evidently, there's something more popular going on. I hope it's not a comment on the proceedings here. I noticed Ms. Weber gave me the eye when she mentioned free entertainment. Always nice to be reminded that I'm on the wrong side of 65. I consider the school plays to be among the biggest entertainment bargains in town, and I'm more than happy to pay my admission price. A couple of things for you to comment on, if you would. Any movement on getting the law firm to put on a presentation about the lawsuit? Next, if you could clarify the second questions. I was under the impression when you had a second question that it was for a specific project for a specific amount. Is that right? Or does this become an ongoing 1.23% increase in the budget year after year? If you could clarify that for me, I'd appreciate it. Next, I didn't see anything in the budget about energy costs. If you guys are anything like me, my December-January bill went up 25%, and I managed to use 5% less energy. So I guess we should all really be thanking, down on our hands and knees and thanking God for a mild winter so far. I don't know if you have long-term contracts and this is a ticking time bomb, or you have been experiencing big increases in gas bills. I'm also wondering maybe if you have ever thought about renting out your roof space for solar panels and all of that kind of thing. I'm sure you've probably thought about that. Last but not least, I'm going to be a nudge. And during the presentation, you gave a student cost of roughly $17,000 and change. I really wish you would put the fully loaded cost next to that. We have 4,000 students. The budget is roughly 86 million or so. By my calculation, that's 21,500 per student. Yes, some of that is state aid, but that's just our tax money coming back to us. It would be nice to see the comparison. And if you get a chance, if you would comment on those things, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Seeing no one else stepping up, I have another question related to the Proposal 1 and Proposal 2, where it says it's a permanent increase in the tax levy of 1.23% and a permanent tax increase of 1.30. If we're building a vestibule at the main entrance of each school during the 23-24 school district, why would that be a permanent, I guess, every year tax levy? I don't understand that. Maybe I just didn't understand the presentation. So I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby.
I'm Lauren Spooner, the Director of Arts and Languages here at Chatham. I had prepared a brief presentation about the situation with the visual and performing arts this month that I would like to share, if that's okay. Okay, do you want to step down because I do have visuals? Like 10 minutes?
Can we do it after we address these comments?
Sure.
Do you mind? Sorry. I'm just going to go off the rails for a minute. So we're going to close the public commentary, and then we'll ask Lauren to step back up. Sorry, Lauren, just give us a minute to address some items. In case folks want to go home, I just want to give them an opportunity to go meet with their families. So the budget stuff I'm going to pass over to Bradley for finance stuff. Deirdre, your question was, do you have any anticipation of changing the health curriculum? The curriculum, all curriculums are reviewed every year, but there's no immediate call for the board to change the health curriculum at this time. It is modified throughout the year, and Dr. LaSousa or Dr. Donahue can, address that a little bit more, although I did want to tie it into what something Mrs. Hilsenrath said, which I think is very important, and I just want to remind folks, Libby mentioned the standards versus the curriculum, and she's absolutely right in that the standards set the expectations of what students are supposed to achieve by a certain grade level. But the districts decide how that's accomplished, what resources they're going to use, what lessons they're going to present, if they're going to present a video or a worksheet or some other type of presentation. So the standards set the expectations, that's set by the state, but the lessons and the how those are achieved are district specific. So I'm kind of combining both of yours a little bit. So I think the short answer, Deirdre, is no, there's no immediate plans to change the health curriculum. That would be up to Dr. LaSousa or Dr. Donahue to present to the board. And then jumping to, Libby, your question on number 4, I don't have an answer. Peter, do you, the $6,600 on item 4 in finance?
We're offered the grant by the state, and we're using it for some of the expenses that we are currently undertaking in the climate control area. So why would the district not take money that is offered to you for for items that we're currently spending?
Take money.
I can just add, Dr. Donahue couldn't be here tonight, but she worked with our science supervisors to come up with a grant that they think will support helping teachers outside of science teach climate change like the mandate requires. That's a relatively new requirement from the state of New Jersey, so not all teachers have been trained on how to incorporate climate change into their component of the curriculum. So that's what the money is for. And we can elaborate on that at a later time.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate that. Perfect, thank you. Mrs. Volker, thank you for coming out. Thank you for the Washington Avenue. I don't know how Mrs. Volker never ages. She's like the Dick Clark of Washington Avenue. So thank you for coming out. Mr. Heap, thanks for coming out. The law firm, yes, we did contact them, but it's a little premature because there's I think it'll be beneficial if we wait. There's some cases before the Supreme Court that we kind of wait to see how that fleshes out. There's some movement to dismiss all those cases, so if we could just put a pin in it, but we do think it's a good idea. Mr. Smith will address your budget questions and the energy questions, and also Libby had a question on the budget also. Bradley, did you want to tackle those?
Absolutely, yeah. So the second questions are structured as ongoing levies, which makes sense on the health benefits side. We have a list of a number of capital improvement projects where we could apply that money to in subsequent years. The other way to do it would be to run another referendum, which we have spoken about at length over the past of the last few years. But at this time, we decided to go to the second question to the voters. In terms of energy costs, Peter, do you want to?
Due to the district's cooperative purchasing through ACES, we've been able to control our energy costs, and with our use of Synergistic for their energy program and helping to monitor and control usage, we've been able to remain within our budget so far this year, although the district is on about a month lag. And yes, Mother Nature has been very beneficial with the climate. So that has helped to save some of our dollars going out for energy.
Thank you.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any comments on that? Riley, have a comment?
This is not budget related. Math isn't my thing, but just what Ms. Helsermath was talking about with the climate change. I just feel like it's important to hear some of this stuff from a student perspective. I don't want to say that climate change isn't impacting anybody in our generation. Sorry, I was taking a quick look at my audience. My generation's like mental health. I feel like there is a big burden that a lot of us feel like we have to carry, being put in this position where it's kind of like we have to change the world now or never. But I want to take that weight off of the district's shoulders. They can't fix that for us. We can talk about climate change and we can address it all we want. I take environmental science. I mean, that's kind of all we talk about in that class, climate change and carbon emissions and all that stuff. So we're getting educated in it, but I want to emphasize that the school teaching us about it is in no way, at least I can't speak for the whole student body, but for me, and I feel a lot of my peers, it's not adding a burden to any of us in our mental health. It's more of we address climate change in ways that we can individually try to change and make an impact on what our future is. So.
Great, thank you, Riley. Okay, so before we move to the regular agenda, Lauren, do you mind if we do this now? That'd be great. Thanks for letting us pause for that for a moment. If we could just jump down to the audience for a minute, and then we'll jump back up. Get my steps in.
There we are. Hello, everyone. Hi, thank you for giving me some of your time tonight. My name is Lauren Spooner. I'm the Director of Arts and Languages here at Chatham. This is my first year here, and I got to tell you, it's fantastic. I am loving it, so just throwing that out there. I put together a short presentation for you tonight that's sort of the current state of the union on the visual and performing arts that I'm supervising. So, here we go. First of all, why did I request to do this in March? Some of you may know already, March is designated as the national month to celebrate and honor all of the things that go into these departments. So this is Arts and Education Month, it is Youth Arts Month, it is Theater in Our Schools Month, and Music in Our Schools Month. So this is what it's all about here. What I put up in the middle is a bulletin board that the high schoolers made. We set up a bulletin board in each school to sort of put this on people's radar and get them thinking about the arts. Because I think a lot of people don't realize how much the arts are infused in all of their classes and in people's life day to day. So here's a little bit about what's happening at our schools. All right, first of all, the school district of the Chathams, arts are geared towards excellence. We have a very high quality education here, a lot of very strong instructors, and the results are pretty outstanding. What you're seeing here are two pieces of art, one of them with the artist herself, that were recognized and awarded by outside bodies. Oh, too far. Okay, here are two more pieces of art submitted by our high school students that were recognized again by, by third parties. For example, in the most recently, there's a show at the Blackwell Art Center in Morristown. Our students have been selected to exhibit there. There's over 30 pieces of artwork from Chatham High School that's going to be showing there over the next month or so. And these are a few of the pieces. Okay, right, the performing arts also has been a very strong showing. We are approximately 21 concerts down, 14 to go for this school year, and more pop up. As time goes on and people are interested, say, hey, can you send your string quartet? Hey, can we borrow your a cappella group? All sorts of opportunities for performances in large and small spaces and settings and contexts. So here you can see some examples of our highest achieving musicians. Right in the center, we sent the choir to New York City to perform in numerous locations. You may recognize that one. Top left, you've got some orchestra students who were invited to participate in an elite group. We do these groups, regional orchestra, all-state orchestra, as well as bands and choirs, and we have sent multiple students to all of these groups. So we've got orchestra, bottom left, a few of our band students, bottom right, all-state choir students, and then the top right is a choir trip from New York. I can't possibly tell you all the people who won all of the awards and list everything for you without running up the time limit ridiculously, but I have put together this slide of about 50 students who just so far this year have either won awards or been recognized and asked to join, like I said, an elite performance group. This list includes visual artists, it includes theater students, and it includes musicians from all of our different groups. So, congratulations to them and to their families and to all of their instructors who found them places to compete and helped them to succeed. SDOC is not just about excellence, though. Arts are not only for the very, very most talented among us. Arts are a way for our school district to reach out and connect with community members. What you're looking at right here is a sample photo of the district art show from last year, because that hasn't happened yet this year. But for those of you who haven't seen it, this is a massive, massive undertaking that includes art from kindergarten right up through 12th grade, hundreds of pieces, so that people from the community can come in and see what's going on, and also how students can progress in their maturity and in their skill level throughout their art education here. We do also work in conjunction with lots of different community groups to put on these fantastic events and to bring people together who might not otherwise get a chance to meet each other. There's a lot of events. I threw together a couple to show you sort of the breadth of the kinds of connections we're making. So this first one here is the catwalk. It includes efforts from our staff, our students, and the PTO. And it showcased fashions that were designed and physically executed by Chatham students and displayed with Chatham models. So the entire event is student-focused from start to finish. There's a photography credit at the bottom, because part of what we teach students when we talk about the arts is about ownership and rights, copywriting, fair use policies, and so we try to demonstrate those as we're working with them. So the PTO, all schools, and then the overall have done a lot of work with the arts departments to good effect, and this event is just one example. The CEF is also, they were mentioned earlier, is a fantastic supporter of the arts, has been consistently helpful, always inviting us to participate in events, and of course, we love to say yes. So here's an example of that. The Winter Wonderland that they threw is an outdoor event in December. The art staff and the Cougar Academy assisted them in creating and hanging decorations to enhance and supplement the event, and the Lafayette Band sent a bunch of students to do caroling and have some festive music, so there's a picture there. The CEF, as they had mentioned earlier in the evening, also granted us enough money to purchase some more display panels for that upcoming art show, so they've been super helpful and we're appreciative of that. Okay, this next one is for the senior citizens. We have put on 3 shows so far, 3 massive theater productions. We have one coming up this week, as you have heard. Wednesday afternoon is the one that is focused on our senior members of the community. And we have set up a senior dinner for them. This, like the tickets, the entrance, is a free event. It was very popular. It filled up immediately, and we did have a slight waiting list, but thank you to the CEA, we've managed to incorporate those last 10 people so that everyone who wanted to go is going to be able to come. So this one is from the fall show, Puffs. And you can see they set up the band room, nice decorations. They brought the students in to hang out with the senior citizen members of the community as they had a nice dinner. So this is, again, an opportunity for people who may not run into each other normally to get to forge a connection. And that's a lot of what the arts are about. Puffs went really well. They sold over 1,000 seats. Newsies with the middle school and Lafayette's Shrek Jr. also came in around 1,500 seats sold, so very popular. And Beauty and the Beast, as of about 2 hours ago, was at 2,038 tickets sold. So the arts and the community are definitely on the same wavelength there. I'm looking forward to seeing that show, and I hope that you'll come. Okay, speaking of which, coming attractions, you've heard about the honors recital already. I did want to mention some other things, Beauty and the Beast being the most imminent of our options. The Blackwell Student Art Show, which I mentioned, is going to be starting next week and running through most of April. It's Morristown, so you have to drive a little, but I think it's worth seeing the students work in a professional setting. Broadway Under the Stars is on the 19th, and it will be in the gazebo downtown. The town has also been an excellent support for art and the music and theater, especially Frames on Main and Scoops. They've been really, really helpful, really excited about setting up event-specific things to make the overall experience more fun for everybody. And then the District Art Show on May 22nd is going to be absolutely fantastic. A quick plug for Chatham Excellence, that Blackwell Art Show. There are lots of artworks that were chosen, but as you can see in the flyer here, one of the 3 that was chosen to advertise the entire event is a Chatham student piece of art, which I've circled on the right. So a little moment of bragging for our art department there. All right, and finally, the arts is for everyone. So Chatham's art department and the performing arts department are things that everybody can get involved in. You don't have to be professional level. We do have Chatham graduates who have gone on to become fashion designers, stage managers, professional actors and actresses, all sorts of different arts-related professions. But we also have people who have gone on to do other jobs and then enjoyed the arts in their spare time with their families, with their friends. So we want to remind everyone that this is really for everyone. What you're looking at is the folder covers that the 8th grade studio art students made for themselves. And you can see there's as many personalities in their art as there are persons in the classes. Is the audio not working for that? Because there should have been a piece of music that started then. Well, what you're not hearing is the District Choral Festival, which included 4th to 12th graders singing together with a clinician that came in from out of state, and it was phenomenal, and it's something I can't possibly describe well enough. I was hoping to let you hear it, but I guess I'm not as good at tech as I am at singing. Okay, so arts and education value. These are just a few of the many areas that are greatly improved when students are taught arts at a young age. There are a lot of formal studies that support this conclusion. And you can see some of it is academic, skills are transferable. attention is strengthened, spatial awareness, and some mathematical abilities. But also, because of the connectivity portion of it, students often will come out with a stronger sense of an obligation to civil engagement and also sociability and tolerance of differences in opinion and personality. So there's a lot there. Here are just some examples of the arts enhancing non-arts events. Top right is a bulletin board that was put together for the Go Be Reading in the K3, and they're visiting gentleman with his dog. Top left is the CMS Orchestra performing background music in the lobby of an event so that audience members who started to walk in will have a nice ambiance when they arrive. And the bottom left is part of the Lunar New Year celebration. It was for Chinese students to show off how well they're learning Chinese, and it included skits, it included music, dancing, singing, all sorts of things that we normally associate with arts. So these are some of the ways that the arts are involved in all of the other subject areas. Here are just a bunch of examples of what we're doing in class. All right, I'm going to wrap up with some stats because it is a numbers kind of night. This is the part that's most interesting and most important to me. It's great that we have some tremendously talented students who are really high flyers, but this is really where the arts and education matters. We are currently offering 104 unique courses across our pre-K to 12 grade levels. Those are broken up into 343 sections of teaching. In addition, we have 28 extracurricular activities available to our students. And what that adds up to, it's stuck. There it is. We have over 5,500 enrolled participants in various courses and activities in the arts. Some of you may know that there's only 3,600 students in this district, so that number may seem sketchy, but that's because a lot of our students are invested and they're doing more than one thing in the arts. They may be in choir and orchestra. They may be in AP art and in, ceramics. So this to me, and the community involvement shows just how important this is in people's lives and how much it means to them. So I wanted to just tell you about all these wonderful things that are happening and invite you to join us. And that's everything. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I assumed I had talked long enough.
Great. That was fantastic. Thank you, Lauren. I don't think we highlight enough of, often enough the performing arts. And all of those skills are transferable to any profession, whether you go on or not. I was just curious, this is your first year here in Chatham, and welcome again. I was just curious, based on your experience and having been here a few months now or 6 months, is there any, I don't want to say deficiency, though, is there any programming that you anticipate maybe morphing into something else, or, do we need like a new sound machine, or do we need to change courses? Is there something that you think our students, might be interested in, but we don't quite have it yet? And it doesn't require a budget all the time. It could just be a shift in direction. So I was just curious, after 6 months here, what are you seeing? Are you making any suggestions?
I think that, bless you. I think that a lot of things are already proceeding in the direction that they should be. For example, the 6th grade orchestra is going to be significantly bigger next year, so we're going to split that section. The fourth and fifth grade band and orchestra are expanding. There was interest in having a jazz band for Lafayette, so they've just started that up about 2 months ago.
Okay.
Kids are having a great time. They're learning a lot about different styles of music there. We started a chamber orchestra in fifth grade because, again, there was some interest, and Mr. Keller was willing to put that together to see where it goes. So I think a lot of that is already happening. What I was hoping to do that I am slowly working on is the interdisciplinary aspect. I think sometimes people think of art class or music class as just off by itself and a separate thing. So I've been looking for opportunities to work together to make sure that arts and music are a part of the other content areas instead of alongside other content areas. So we've met with some success with that already. As you saw, I was pointing out some of the things we've done, and I do think that we'll be able to continue to do that and expand it, and I hope that people will come to us if they discover they're interested and they want to do some music in their class, but they're not sure how.
Okay.
And then we can sort of see how that develops.
Oh, that's fantastic. And the Broadway Under the Stars, is that a ticketed event or no? Because it's at the gazebo. Probably not, because it's out in Firehouse Plaza.
Broadway Under the Stars is a boosters event, and
Okay.
I think that they're selling things, but not tickets.
Got
but
it.
I would have to check that.
No, that's great. No, these are fantastic. I was wondering if anybody had any questions for Lauren on any of these. The art show is always a phenomenal event in May. Everybody loves the art show. Anything that gets the community out. You mentioned the progression. To go from the one side of the gym to the other side is just mind-boggling. And even not for, like you said, the AP students, just the progression through the district, and you see it in one room. It's really astonishing to see. Any other questions? I'm a programmer by trade, and for the last 35 years, and our most gifted programmers are almost 100% of the time, they're also musicians. Not professional musicians, but they enjoy music, they like to play music, but there has to be some correlation because, again, our most gifted computer programmers are musically inclined, so it must be that part of the brain that's the creative side.
There's a lot of math and patterns in music.
Yeah, so it's amazing
systems.
that.
So yeah, absolutely.
I always go to that group. Were you a musician? To ask questions, but thank you, Lauren. I don't want to keep you any later. Thank you for being flexible. I just wanted to make sure we had enough time to not rush your presentation.
Of course. Thank you so much for letting me speak today.
I appreciate it. Any other questions for Lauren? So she's had a long day. She can get home herself. Nope. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great. So we're just going to move on to the regular agenda. Again, we post these or Peter and his team post these on Friday night. So if it appears we go through them quickly, it's just that we've had an opportunity to look at them through the weekend. So first up is probably personnel. Right? Yes. So I'm going to move personnel in Ann's absence. So I'd like to move items A1 through A14 on the regular agenda, and on the addendum is additions on 6, 9, and 15. 6, 9, and 15. Fantastic. Thank you. Second that. I'm sure Dr. LaSousa, I know you have to.
Here you go.
It's fitting we're in the middle school, so just want to comment on the first agenda item, which is Jill Jaworski's resignation for the purpose of retirement. She's been at the helm here for about 10 years, was one of the first hires I had as superintendent, and I know she's put her heart and soul into this school, trying to make it a better place and help students and staff grow and learn, so I just want to wish her all the best in retirement.
Hear, hear. Congratulations. And if we vote no on that, does she still get to retire? And Ms. Jaworski was the world language supervisor prior to coming to the middle school and a world language teacher prior to that. So we wish her well. She's certainly leaving the middle school a better place than when she arrived, and I'm sure it will continue to thrive. And good luck to her. I'm just jealous. Any other questions on personnel for Beth Grant? No questions? Okay, Peter, take it away.
Agenda items A1 to 14, the addendum item number 6, 9, and 15. Mr. Del Sandro.
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And Ms. Weber.
Yes.
Agenda items pass 5-0.
Excellent. Very good. Mr. Smith, over to you for finance and facilities.
Yes, I would like to move action items B1 through B10 to a vote, and also highlight, in addition to the CEF donation that Ms. Ross mentioned to the Chatham Middle School, we also had a donation from the Washington Avenue PTO of compost bins and chalk for World Social Emotional Learning Day. And we also had Ms. Virginia Hobby donate a flute to the musical department. So thank you very much for those things.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Did you get a second, Peter, on that?
I didn't hear one.
Second. I second
thank
Mr.
you.
Smith's motion. Very good. Any questions on any of the finance or facility items for Bradley or anybody else on finance? Nope. Okay, take it away, Peter.
Agenda items B1 through B10. Mr. Del Sandro.
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And Ms. Weber.
Yes.
Agenda items pass 5-0.
Excellent. Susan, we are up to curriculum.
Yes, I'd like to move agenda items C1 through C4 for a vote.
Second.
Okay. So, and again, item 3 is the revised school
Right.
calendar, just so folks understand that we're looking to not be off Thursday and Friday of Memorial Day weekend, just the Friday, and then end school on June 9th, but graduation continuing on June 14th.
Correct.
Mike, will this be posted once we, okay, just so folks can adjust their calendars. Again, so the proposal is to end school on June 9th. Okay, great. Any questions for Susan on, well, that's the only item we could really talk about.
All right. Agenda items C1 through C4. Mr. Del Sandro.
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And Ms. Weber.
Yes.
Agenda items pass 5-0.
Policy, just checking, Mr. Ryan, any audibles?
No, not at this time.
Not audibles. Okay, great. So moving over to board business. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up? Any assignments they want to give to those board members that are absent tonight? No? Okay. Very good. Okay, so we have our second opportunity for public commentary. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself again and sign in if you come to the podium. Create an orderly line. You're good, Mr. Heap? Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we don't have any other public items. We have an executive session.
Yes.
Will action be taken?
Yes.
Action will be taken. Okay, we'll just meet in a nearby room. Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. Please drive safely. Thank you for coming. Thanks, everybody. Thank you guys for the audio visual.